And a lot of times when I teach, I just think, okay, you're in the room. God, I want you to be honored by this. I can't let anything come out of my mouth that would draw attention to me. It's about you and your greatness. And so in the same way as you're listening to God's words, feel free, just to shut your eyes and go, gosh, God, Jesus, you're so awesome. You're so awesome. You're so awesome. You're amazing. You're unreal. Did you really do that? In Romans, Romans is the gospel. It's the good news. It's Paul's maybe most complete letter where he just details everything that God did for us. And it's the good news, and he says, I'm not ashamed of this. Romans 1:16 was actually the first verse that I memorized as a Christian back when I was in high school. I'm not ashamed of the gospel because it's the power of God for the salvation of everyone who believes, first for the Jew and then for the Gentile. He says, I'm not ashamed of this. And when you look at Paul's life, as we read in the book of Acts, he was clearly not ashamed of this good news. He was going everywhere, getting beat up, stoned, whipped, shipwrecked, starving, everything else, all because he wanted to get this good news out, all because he believed this was so important. But the first thing he says about that good news in verse 18 of chapter 1, he says, the wrath of God. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all the ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. He says, you've got to understand that there's a God up there, and this God has a wrath that is against all of the ungodliness on this earth. Okay, I don't care what you were told. Okay, some of you guys grew up in a tradition that go, well, God wouldn't judge anyone. And that's why I'm saying, no, you read it. Read it. What does it say? Does it say God will never judge anyone? No, it says the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all the ungodliness and unrighteousness of men. God has every right to judge. In fact, he says in chapter 2, if you look at chapter 2, verse 4, do you presume on the riches of his kindness and forbearance and patience, not knowing that God's kindness is meant to lead you to repentance? But because of your hard and impenitent heart, you are storing up wrath for yourself on the day of wrath when God's righteous judgment will be revealed. I know some of you hate this, but I'm not really saying this to make you happy. I'm telling you, this is the way God is. God says, look, I've been kind to some of you. I've been patient with some of you. He goes, some of you in this room shouldn't even be alive. Don't you understand my kindness to you was to bring you to repentance? He goes, but if you don't turn to follow me after seeing everything I've done for you, he goes, you know what you're doing? You're storing up wrath for yourself. It's like I'm keeping track and I'm collecting it up. You're storing up wrath for the day of judgment. Man, these are scary passages. In chapter 3, verse 4, this is important. He says, let God be true, though everyone were a liar. You get that? Let God be true, though everyone were a liar. Hey, if everyone on planet Earth agrees on something and God disagrees, who wins? Yeah, it doesn't matter. See, we find so much comfort in numbers. Like, well, everyone today is saying, God's not a God of judgment. Nowadays, and it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the whole world agrees on that. I mean, if you continue reading, he says, let God be true, though everyone were a liar, as it is written, that you may be justified in your words and prevail when you are judged. But if our unrighteousness serves to show the righteousness of God, what shall we say? That God is unrighteous to inflict wrath on us? I speak in a human way. By no means. For then how could God judge the world? Okay, he starts off saying, hey, it doesn't matter what you feel. It doesn't matter if the whole world thinks something. Let God be true, even though that makes everyone else a liar. Then he's saying, are you saying that, well, it's really God's, law and his righteousness, that's what shows our unrighteousness, so he can't really punish us? And he goes, are we really going to say that?